It has been scientifically proven in a lab that Amazon's tour de force, The Rings of Power, the most expensive show in television history, isn't very good. And that isn't just me saying that, it's science. The wonderful thing about the internet is that it is a delightful little platform for sharing information of all kinds across the globe, and today, the most groundbreaking data that is being shared confirms what we've all been saying for the last year. Rings of Power was not a very good show. Now, my very first video on this channel was me saying how much I hated this show, and how it made me feel like Amazon itself had personally come into my home and taken a big steamy dump on my television screen. I hated this show and what it represented. Another trophy for corporate headhunters to display proudly on their horrific mantelpiece of blood and bone, alongside such classics as Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, and Willow. What?! I'm just kidding about that last one, because who the hell even remembers Willow? But I wasn't the only one that was disgusted at this show. The public outcry from Tolkien fans and basic thinking, feeling human beings at this show was, to put it mildly, sheer bloody hysteria. But all the corporate media shills and hacks were telling us that this show was a massive success, and that it was just toxic, racist fans who hated the show. But the rest of the world was in love with Rings of Power, because it reflected the world we live in today. But 2023 seems to be the year of glorious vindication for us toxic fans, as data reveals less than 1/3 of the people who watched the first 2 episodes even finished the bloody show.
That is so lame!
I'm sure you all remember how proudly Amazon was touting that 25 million people watched the opening episodes, which was a very impressive number. But Amazon went rather quiet on viewing figures and didn't say much more about them. Until now. According to multiple articles, about 37% of US viewers actually watched the series finale, with about 45% of international viewers slogging through to the end. Now, using my highly logical brain, doing some elementary mathematics, one can see that 37% of 25 million is not exactly a number you want for the most expensive show in cinema history. With a population of roughly 331.9 million people as of 2021 in the US of A, less than 10 million people actually finishing the show is woeful. And the ones who did weren't saying the most flattering things about it. Now, 10 million might sound like a rather big number, but remember that Amazon threw about $250 million just to acquire the rights to make the show, without any of that being production money and that being just to own the rights for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. That is pure madness.
This is
Amazon.
Then each episode went on to cost roughly $90 million. You know, some movies' entire frigging budgets. And the total cost of acquiring the rights, sinking $500 million into the actual show's production, and then adding advertising costs on top of that, you can start to paint a picture as why 10 million watching your stupid show isn't exactly hunky-dory. A little comparison for you. When Disney purchased Marvel, they basically sold Marvel a small tropical holiday island off the coast of Europe for it. A whopping $4 billion to acquire those rights, which, even to the megalomaniacal juggernaut that is Disney, that ain't exactly pennies. But here's the difference, my friends. Disney got the rights to all of Marvel, and then put the movies in the hands of competent directors and screenwriters, so they easily made their money back. Whereas Amazon only got the rights to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. None of the Unfinished Tales, none of the Silmarillion, just Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and the appendices, but they're in Lord of the Rings, so whatever. Then, they put their show into the hands of incompetent morons who can't tell right from left, and then accuse the fans of basically being a part of the Ku Klux Klan every time they said something negative about their retarded show, simply because their show happened to have black actors in it. Now, can I go out on a limb here and confidently say that we are currently living in the year of our Lord 2023, and that no one is complaining about blacks, Asians, Hispanics, Latinos, or any other kind of race being cast in movies and TV shows. It's not the 1910s anymore, you morons. No one is screaming for a remake of the 1915 classic Birth of a Nation, because we all just hate anyone who isn't white, yo. Yes, racism still exists, and always will because we live in a society. But using "you're just racist" as an excuse to defend your show is like being unable to come up with a good comeback and just resorting to saying "your mum" over and over again.
Oh, your mama fight!
We aren't racist, your show just sucks, and your flagrant disregard of the professor's work to fit your idiotic identity politics into it, at the cost of basic storytelling, ain't exactly a plus. But anyway, back to them raw hard facts that were proven in a laboratory. So how does Amazon move forward knowing that scientifically their show is a hot bucket of pig slop? They reportedly get an all-female cast of directors to direct all of Season 2 and postpone the season's release date till 2024. Okay. Not exactly the solution I was thinking of. But the showrunners Payne and McKay said that after introducing the world and all the characters, now we'd really get to see the Dark Lord Sauron come into his own. And what does Sauron look like in the second season? Apparently he's going to be like Walter White from Breaking Bad and Satan from Milton's Paradise Lost.
What? Your Grace! Your Eminence!
Okay, you know what? I'm done. I'm not even going to entertain for a second that Amazon has learned its lessons from Season's 1 debacle, as they're making the same mistakes. Sauron is not a tragic figure who is somehow simply misunderstood. He's not like Thanos, where we know he is wrong, but we can still somewhat understand his motivations. Sauron has always been about order and control at any cost. He is an evil, manipulative son of a bee that does not deserve any sympathy. You know that scene in The Two Towers when Treebeard is asking Merry and Pippin if they have seen any of the Entwise because the Ents hadn't seen them in years? The reason why the Entwise went missing is because they relocated from Fangorn Forest to another section of Middle-earth called the Rovanian. And then, during the War of the Last Alliance, Sauron, wanting to slow the advance of the men and elves attempting to besiege Mordor, burnt the entire place to the ground, leaving neither shrub nor plant left standing, naming the now scorched earth the Brownlands. What else is Sauron famous for? Oh, you know, just waging a 12-year-long war on the free peoples of Middle-earth, killing my boy Gil-galad and Elendil and corrupting the people of Numenor to invade Valinor, the lands of the gods, causing the entire island continent to get swallowed up by the ocean.
Ooh, that's bad.
How in the hell can Payne and McKay think that Sauron is some anti-villain? Seriously! Get your crap together, guys. Get it all together, sort it out into a pile, put it somewhere that's out of the way, and just get it together, damn it!
Almost lost my cool there.
And if science wasn't enough for you, ladies and gentlemen, it seems even Divine Providence wants this show to crawl into a hole and die. Reports of Season 2's production hasn't exactly been stellar, with a horse dying from a heart attack and the set catching on fire. You just can't make this stuff up. I'm sure the horse died because it didn't want to be a part of this dumpster fire of a show, and so decided to commit seppuku or something. The set catching on fire was just the cherry on top of this news story, and while thankfully no one was injured in the fire, the season is slated for a 2024 release, so I'm sure there's still plenty of time for something else to go horrifically wrong, like the island of New Zealand to sink into the waves like Numenor, or for Jeff Bezos to drop all pretense and officially name himself the new Dark Lord of Middle-earth. Amazon wanted this show to finish with at least 50% viewership, which they said wouldn't be ideal, but acceptable. They didn't even match their own low expectations, and yet they're plowing on ahead, foot on the accelerator and completely blindfolded, just hoping that they'll fall into success. Now, as I sit here, I think to myself,
what a wonderful world.
I ask myself, should Amazon cut their losses? Honestly, how do you save a show like this? According to the show, Celeborn is dead, although we so know he isn't, meaning Celebriant hasn't been born yet when she should be. Galadriel is basically a step away from being a tyrannical psychopath. The Rings of Power have been made out of order, which is actually a huge problem. Isildur is a snotty, indecisive little kid, and all of the men of Numenor are actually the boys of Numenor. So basically everything is just wrong! And don't get me started on the sea always being right.
The sea is always right!
I want to see the Second Age come to life, but not like this. I know Amazon will say that they have no choice and that they're in too deep and need to just power on ahead, but honestly, I think the best way to move forward is to just burn it all to the ground and start again, but this time, listen to the fans. Don't hire these super fans just to tick diversity boxes. Don't hire people who are massively underqualified to helm your show, and stay true to the source material. I promise that would pay more than the crap you're trying to pull now. I mean, Amazon wants 5 seasons of this show. I'll be generous. You're lucky if you get 3.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for